Good morning, our wonderful listeners. I am glad and happy you are with us again today. I'm sure you're worried about program issues of the moment that couldn't reach you last week, but we're really very sorry for that. It's a result of a technical hitch, that we couldn't control. Thank God we're back today, and then in today's issues of the moment, we'll be looking at Nnamdi Kano's international lawyer, Fen, who has called for Nigerians' expulsion or suspension from United Nations other bodies over the country's lawlessness. And then, as usual, in the studio with me today, I have a man would always love listening to, and that is Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi is a historian, not just a historian, he's a public affairs analyst and political affairs analyst. He's also a televangelist. He loves dealing with dates and numbers. He's very conversant with the happenings in this country, and that is why it is always important to hear from him, especially in issues like this. All right, Comrade, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. Good day to you and to our listener out there.
All right, this is not just about, it's not just a mere speculation. Fen, the international lawyer to Nnamdi Kano, has called for Nigerians' expulsion or suspension from the United Nations and other bodies over the country. That is Nigerians' lawlessness. And do you think it will ever happen?
No, it's not going to happen. I would say emphatic no, it's not going to happen, though I understand the politics. And then being that he is Nnamdi Kano's international lawyer, he's playing in the international scene by urging these international bodies to suspend forthwith the Nigerian state and then stop it from exercising its rights and obligation as member states, or if not the member state, at least an ally. You understand? Because Nigeria is not a member of the EU or the Commission, but Nigeria could be an ally. So that's what it is. He is in exercise of his right. But speaking, I want to be realistic now. You understand? From the realistic point of view, it will be hard for that to happen. Not that it cannot happen. Has it happened before? It has happened before. But when Republic of China was expelled from the UN in 1971, you understand? From 1945 to 1971, it was known as the Republic of China. But then when it was readmitted, it came as People's Republic of China. You understand? And that's it. I think the politics involved in suspension of Nigeria from the UN is not what an individual initiates, or you understand, or even instigates. You have to talk about the Security Council, then the General Assembly, then a resolution to that effect that will be actually adopted through vote to third majority plus one. You understand, and all that. But I think what like I said, what he has done is to raise the concern of the international community that Kano is still in detention after a court here said he should be released, and then we saw a lot of if you ask me, paint up emotions and then expressions from former government officials, and then how court processes were abused, and then Nnamdi Kano still in detention, even when the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention actually said Kano should be freed, and then other groups had actually gone ahead to pronounce him a political prisoner or a prisoner of conscience. It's been there, so that's part of the whole thing. Thank you.
All right. Looking at it, Bruce Fen, who has called on this European Union and the United Nations, the Commonwealth, and so on, to look into the legibility of Nigeria being part of these. Civilized, that belong to this civilized nation. Looking at it, from what he's saying, he says that Nigeria is so lawless. And then looking at Nnamdi Kano that was discharged from a court of competent jurisdiction, not just a mere high court, but an appeal court. And until now, he is still there. Don't you see reasons with him?
Yes, I think the decision of Nnamdi Kano has actually acquired a political dimension You understand? Why the president, Muhammad Buhari, the former president, was there, when he was there, I think some concerned groups, eminent persons, went to him and said, release Kano to us. Even some governors went. He said Kano's matter will be decided by the court. So unfortunately, when the court said free him, or even the court said discharged and acquitted, the government attorney general, that's the law officer of the federation then, said that the government will proceed with discharge, but not acquittal. And then we know where we are today. We even heard that the lawyers who handed down these judgments were actually transferred to places that that could be said to be unbearable or not livable for them. That said, I think, like I was saying again, by the time we proceed, we're going to look into the international dimensions of what is happening. But for now, I think the Nigerian state has really behaved how it ought, how it has wanted to behave. You understand? It's not, to me, it does not make any sense detaining the man. Even when the Supreme Court actually ruled that it will not try Nnamdi Kanu, that Nnamdi Kanu's matter should be referred back to the lower court. What did the court still say? The court still challenged the appearance of Nnamdi Kanu and then berated the Nigerian government for intercepting him in Kenya. You understand? That said again, even recently, the CTC, that's the certified true copy of the court verdict, was actually revealed or was cited publicly, and we saw the judgment. You understand? The court met there. Some of the pronouncements were in favor of Nnamdi Kanu. You understand? So it is what it is.
All right, looking at it the way it's going, and then we know from the Court of Appeal judgment that set Nnamdi Kanu free, and then we know there was no court as at the time he was set free, but it was the then Attorney General of the nation, Malami, who came up to say no. And maybe because of his position, and then Nnamdi Kanu remained there for some days before they went back, to
exactly.
Supreme Court.
Yes.
So what do you think about this?
I think the Supreme Court has actually done justice to that. You see, the certified true copy was actually clear. What did this say? It said that Nnamdi Kanu was not a person of flight risk. That what actually happened was that he blamed the federal government for deploying soldiers to his house in 2017. And the court, in its wisdom, said that no reasonable person, a living man, will stay without moving in the face of attack. So he blamed the Nigerian military, but what I'm not sure is whether damages were awarded. You understand? But as for blaming, the court pointedly and clearly blamed the federal government. You understand? In this very case. So what it simply means is that Nnamdi Kanu was a person standing trial as at the time his house was invaded, and he had to do what? Fly for safety. And then that said again, I think the manner in which the federal government extraordinary rendition is against international law. Let's be clear about it. You understand? So if Nigeria is committed to the principle of international law, that is what they call use cogens, the principles of international law, which cannot be eliminated or which cannot actually be disregarded. If Nigeria follows international law, it would have known that it actually violated principles it actually affirms to be respecting and be protecting, because Nigeria is a signatory to many international law documents, including some of the things Nnamdi Kanu is even advocating, which is right to self-determination. Nigeria is a signatory to 1981 Banjul Declaration. You understand? Even the article of political and political rights. You understand? Nigeria is a signatory to a lot of UN documents talking about the freedom, you understand, to exist as a nation. So when we begin to look at it, you see that Nnamdi Kanu's matter is gradually becoming a conundrum for the federal government. And to me, it bodes ill for our international repute. You understand? It bodes ill because you go to even ECOWAS court has actually come out at some point. Some of these courts have actually come out to say the IPOB group that was proscribed, it's not a terrorist group that it should be delisted. Even at a point, we know that the United Kingdom granted asylum to members of to members of this group, saying you can come to our country and take asylum. So it speaks to something, and I think this is one area President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should look into. It's a grey area. He must actually handle it. We've seen promises by the past administration said we will allow the the law courts, you understand, to decide or to determine, at which end the court said he should be freed and he should be discharged and acquitted. Then the federal government said no. It now interpreted the law to say we are okay with discharge but not with acquittal. Even at that, they did not discharge him still. So it's been there, and the world is watching. Imagine the United Nations working group on arbitrary detention making such pronouncement. Many outlets, media outlets, even some international bodies are beginning to see Nnamdi Kanu as a prisoner of conscience or a political prisoner. So I think the federal government has no need canonizing Nnamdi Kanu, you understand? And we know what he's been demanding. We know the extent he's gone, and we know the politics involved, and we also know that this is just the Nigerian state trying to be somewhat a rogue state. You understand?
All right.
Yes.
Okay, now I want you to have a retrospect, what we discussed here sometime about a week ago concerning one of the governors in Nigeria who said Nigeria is too poor to revolt. And then looking at it from that angle, do you think it owes to the fact while Nnamdi Kanu is still being held right down there? And also, I don't know, Nnamdi Kanu has not been convicted by any competent court. So why is he still there? Then compare with that statement.
Yes, I said it before now that it has acquired more political dimension. It's no longer. I can't say Nnamdi Kanu's matter needs any further judicial interpretation than what we've seen before. You understand? Take it up, take it down. Even the court is aware of the case. But I think it exhibits, or to an extent, it x-rays or actually exhibit the kind of democracy we are practicing here, where the executive calls the shot. The judiciary will say free him, and the executive will say we choose not to free him, we choose to detain him still by other means. So it is what it is. But then coming to the issue of protest, you see, the Nigerian government has one understanding about protest. When it is legitimate protest, when it is civil protest, when it is civil disobedience, the Nigerian government has actually meted out, in fact, had actually deployed kinetic force. You remember the NSAS protests? You remember that even IPOB started as a mild protest. And what was that mild protest about? That the part of the country where this agitation is coming from is excluded from the center. And the other day they were talking about shifting or transference of certain offices and headquarters, departments of to and I was asking, if Nigeria is a true federation in the real sense, why are not some of these offices in places like Enugu, Lokoja, and the rest of them? So the exclusion there. Now look at it. 40-something ministers, we have only 5. As it is now in the federation. If you look at it, you see it also reflects in the offices we occupy. You understand? I'm speaking now as a Southeasterner. So the agitation simply is coming from the area of feeling excluded. That exclusionary tendency of an insular parochial government spearheaded and run by Muhammad Buhari. And they said, you don't make us feel among, so let us go. You understand? Let us go and establish in our own way a country of ours through a plebiscitary restoration. But unfortunately, that government said, no, we can't allow you to go. We cannot also give you the freedom you are looking for. And then we must continue the status quo. But then it calls for something. There must be a dialogue and there must be a closure. And I think for over 50 years, the war ended now. And we are still where we are. Every time we are still making the same mistakes. It doesn't bode well. So I think there is need for dialogue. There is need for closure. If possible, you know that the Nigerian government, through President Muhammad Buhari, then made official apology to the Abiolas. And I was telling someone, I said, there are still other apologies to be made. One, the Biafran war, which was executed here, deserves an apology. If we must exist as one country, if we must continue existing as indivisible, indissoluble country called Nigeria. And then again, the killing of Ken Wiwa actually deserves apology. Then let me also come back to it. The execution of Wiwa culminated in the expulsion of Nigeria from the Commonwealth, which is also an international body. Now, we are seeing killings of people because of political ideology they profess, because of political ideology they confess. They say, I don't believe in the citizens of Nigeria. There are people who are not giving to the citizens of America as it is today. So they have not been killed. People must express their opinion political belief, political views, because it is in the constitution. It's even embedded in the chapter 4 of our constitution. From the articles, the human rights articles, we embedded some of these rights: right to freedom of opinion, right to freedom of assembly, right to freedom of political views, and what have you. But in essence, you see that the federal government actually clamp down or actually go against some of these rights, including stopping people from enjoying them. So I think the most important thing is that Nigeria should not be considered as an entity whose unity is not negotiable. The unity of Nigeria must be negotiated and inserted in a constitution that reflects the wills and aspirations of the Nigerian people. And that's why we are having this problem, because we have a constitution whose making and design has a lot of military background, you understand? So it's become a problem to see where the people can actually be brought in. But I think Nnamdi Kanu's issue should actually open a lot of conversation and dialogue, especially on how to make Nigeria remain one, if Nigeria is still interested in achieving that oneness or that unity.
All right. Now we're going to go to a very short break. When we come back, issues of the moment will continue. Stay there, please don't go away. We'll be back shortly.
My heart says follow.
Before we reach the promised land, let's save Nigeria so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Tell me which way to go. I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. Yes, I want to know. Which way Nigeria is heading to. Every little thing that goes wrong, we start to blame the government. We know everything that goes wrong because we are part of the government. Let's save Nigeria so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Tell me which way to go. Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. Want to know. Inefficiency and indiscipline is ruining the country now. Corruption here, there, and everywhere. Inflation is soaring high. Let's save Nigeria so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh, sure, sure. I want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. We made mistakes during the oil boom, not knowing that was our doom. Some people now have everything, while many, many have nothing. Let's save Nigeria so Nigeria won't fall. Revolution is a reality. Let's give it a chance to grow. Let's join our hands to farm the land so we can have enough food to show. Let's save Nigeria so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh sure. I want to know. Yes, I want to know. Which way Nigeria ambition to be millionaires is running the country down. We all want to be millionaires and to live in the air. Oh, let's save Nigeria so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. Yes, we want to know. Which way Nigeria is heading to. Remember that a simple step is the beginning of a million miles. Let's start right now to repeat ourselves so as to make the country smile. Let's save Nigeria so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Heaven and earth will pass away. It is written in the book of God. The good people will surely find their ways, and the meek will inherit the world. Let's save Nigeria so Nigeria won't fall. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yes. We want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. Yes, I want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. One more time. Which way Nigeria is heading to. Let's save Nigeria. Which way Nigeria is heading to. Which way Nigeria is heading to. Which way Nigeria is heading to. One more time. Which way Nigeria is heading to. Amen.
Then we would cook only for
Our wonderful viewers, I'm happy you're still there, listening to your favorite program, Issues of the Moment. Remember, what we're talking about is Nnamdi Kanu's international lawyer friend who has called for Nigerians' expulsion or suspension from the United Nations and other bodies, as a result of the country's lawlessness. That's what we're looking at today. And moving on, I still have your favorite, analyst, Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi, in the program today. All right, moving on. Bruce Fenn has equally said that Nigerians' contempt for the rule of law militates against the eligibility for it to sit among civilized countries. That is to say, Nigeria is not qualified with the way they are handling, the rule of law.
Yeah.
I want you to look at that and also compare it with some other. It's not just about Nnamdi Kanu when they talk about rule of law.
Yes.
Remember what happened to MFLA, the immediate past CBN governor, and so on, even while in detention.
Yes, I think I did say here some time ago that the last administration, that's under Muhammadu Buhari, former president, ruled through court disobedience. I think I said that. I said that administration was actually synonymous with court disobedience. The court will hand out a judge, we hand down the judgment, and then they will decide which one to obey and which one not to obey. And if you look at it, you see that from that administration to the present time, we are actually seeing manifest in our polity breakdown of law and the order. It's not about the rule of law. It's about the rule of the jungle or rule of men. And I will explain to you. You see, rule of law simply means that the constitution, which is the ground norm or the modus operandi, is the highest authority from which the government and the governed derive their functions and their power. But you see, in most cases, the constitution had been jettisoned or even dropped. For example, the president left the shores of this country to Paris for private visit, as they called it. But let me shock you now. Section 145, subsection 1 and subsection 2 of the constitution under review, as amended, it says that the president, whenever he wants to embark on such tour, you understand, whenever he wants to embark on such tours, must transmit to the National Assembly a letter telling the National Assembly he is leaving, you understand, and must also transmit power to the vice president. But nothing of the sort was done. And even at that, we can't even say, the National Assembly has not told us that they are in possession of such letter or document from the presidency. Secondly, the presidency did not say to us that powers or briefs had been given to the vice president to act. Rather, somebody was releasing a statement telling us that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is on top of the situation from France. And I said, sovereignty is not alienable. One of the features and characteristics of sovereignty is inalienability. It's not transferable. You don't exercise it from outside the shores of the country, you exercise it from within the country, because you are the embodiment of that sovereignty. That's one of the ways they abuse the constitution. Then you talk about rule of law. The case of Nnamdi Kanu is ample. In fact, it's an apt example of what rule of law breakdown means. You understand? Then you here gave the example of Emefiele. You have the case of Sowore, who the DSS even invaded the court to rearrest. The same thing they did to Emefiele. We have a lot of examples. Even the National Assembly was actually invaded. The complex of the assembly was invaded by hooded men of the DSS who stopped lawmakers elected thereto from performing their legislative businesses and functions on our behalf. So it is something, when you look at it, you see, yes, Nigeria, even as a democracy, had shown disregard for the rule of law as a principle, as a concept, even in application or even in practice. You see that we are not here. We are neither here nor there when it comes to rule of law. So it is what it is. And then that actually does not mean that the United Nations, because there's a procedure you have to talk about when you begin to say expulsion or suspension. I think you writing, I think it has to come from member states through the Security Council. We must now recommend to the General Assembly, then a vote will be taken, you understand, at the General Assembly level. When that vote is taken, then the business can actually proceed there from. But you can ask yourself, how many nations has the United Nations actually expelled? You have Russia, you have rogue nations or rogue states like North Korea or even Iran, those who are testing ballistic missiles. Even when we know that the case of North Korea, its membership in the UN is still in question. You understand? We all understand this. But then you're going to ask that question. So the UN itself you are talking about, to me, does not even wield the stick. In most cases, it's always talking about negotiation, diplomacy. So you begin to see that the UN most times is also handicapped, because the bigger players are also the bigger offenders. Even the US, all of them are the bigger offenders. Even Russia, you've seen what the US is doing recently in the matter of Israel and Palestine. You also see what Russia is doing in Ukraine. You also see what China is doing, you understand, in Taiwan and the rest of them. So all these Security Council members, the top 5, they are also chief violators of international law and international convention. So saying that Nigeria will be expelled, I don't know the possibility of that, because I've not seen the UN in recent time expel a member state.
All right. Let's also believe that Nnamdi Kanu, from all we can say, is not just a mere Nigerian, ordinary Nigerian.
Yes.
Nnamdi Kanu is also a British citizen.
Yes.
So to say. And also what happened, according to them, is not supposed to be. The detention is also very, very unlawful. You know? Yeah. And then looking at that, assuming these member countries consider this and decides to approve this, what do you think becomes of Nigeria?
Well, we witnessed it for the first time in modern times, where a country was expelled. I said here, the last time Nigeria was expelled from international organization was in 1995, following the November execution of Kenule Bison Sarwiwa. You understand? When eminent figures like Nelson Mandela and the rest of them made a case against Nigeria at the Commonwealth, saying Nigeria should no longer continue to be a member. Just like South Africa was also expelled because of apartheid. If you remember very well, at a point in Commonwealth, South Africa was actually on that. In fact, the question of apartheid was at the issue. So South Africa suffered that policy. Then Nigeria was actually expelled for not only the execution of Kenya, but for gross violation of human rights. But I can tell you categorically that ever since we returned to democracy, same has continued. And then I have not seen this. But then it's just because Nigeria is still these pretentious assumptions of being a democracy is what is just keeping Nigeria. In terms of rule of law, we have no regard for it. Even our constitution, we don't obey. See, these leaders are sworn in to office with constitution and the Bible. They don't keep to either. They don't obey the Bible. They don't obey the constitution. So you see the caliber of persons who are in power, not in office. This is happening because leaders are elected into power, not office. So if we have people who are in offices, we will be talking about authority, not about power. So how does someone like Buhari or Tinubu view himself in power? He's the commander-in-chief, he's the be all and end all appointments, including to various other arms of government, are made by him. So everything is within his beck and call. He can do anything and get away with it. So that alone, as enshrined in the constitution, makes it difficult to rule through court obedience. So that's why they rule through court disobedience, and it does not project Nigeria better in international scheme of things. Just look at the last election. See the EU report that the Nigerian electoral system was actually replete with corruption and the rest of them. They said that INEC actually lowered the confidence bar. You understand? So all these things are what make the images of a country. And when you're also talking about foreign investors, they look at the democratic index of the country. They begin to say, oh, what is the role of the opposition party? What is the role of the press? Is the press free? Opposition parties, are they free? And human rights, are they guaranteed? So these are the things that we should also bear in mind when we tell ourselves that the president is seeking foreign investors when he goes to UN General Assembly, the UNGA 77 or the climate change conference, you understand, in Dubai or elsewhere. So we have to be careful when we talk about this, because many countries are also watching closely. And the case of Nnamdi Kanu amplifies and spotlights the right question, especially right to self-determination, which I do not see the Nigerian constitution superseding, because it is the principle of international law. You understand? Even if Nigeria is looking the other way, what is written is written.
All right. Let us also look at Nnamdi Kanu's health, because Fen has equally said that Kanu is currently arbitrarily detained in Nigerian dungeon in a precarious health and denied access to necessary medical care. And then talking about this detention, are they supposed to deny him that's
another way they have been flagrantly abusing or disobeying his rights. You understand? Like you rightfully, aptly captured, Kanu has not been convicted. No court has actually pronounced him guilty of the charge preferred or the charges preferred against him. You understand? No court of the land has actually come out to say Nnamdi Kanu is guilty as charged. So why deny him access to those amenities? Even when you don't want him to fly abroad, you can allow his doctors assess him. At a point, it was that his family members could not even assess him. From that, we started hearing he was having hearing problem. From that, it became sight problem or something. So a lot of things. And then we've been told a lot of he had conditions, and then and the federal government. You see, it should be in the interest. And I will remind you this: during the campaign, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu promised to negotiate with all agitators. He said he will bring them to the negotiation table and hear from them that you cannot achieve whatever you are looking to achieve through unlawful protest, that we must come together and parley as brothers. So where is that? It has not happened yet. The same way Tinubu, the same way Buhari before him played to the gallery is what we are beginning to see manifest. And in the interest of peace, especially the sit at home we are observing, people are observing here, you understand, by in fact impliedly, I think it should be in the interest of the federal government to do this, to lessen the political tension, even the insecurity we are witnessing, because many groups, including faceless groups, are beginning to champion insecurity, beginning to orchestrate them in the name of agitation. So the moment this man is released, you understand, we begin to talk about how to mend fences. And I read somewhere somewhere, though I'm not confirmed, that he actually outlined conditionalities for negotiation. So the federal government should know that, yes, this person is now coming closer. This should be an ample opportunity, a window of negotiation that must not be wasted.
All right. Before we go for the day, let us also look at this. Assuming Bruce Fenn fails in this petition against Nigeria, what do you think? Because since Buhari came in, I'm not sure he has said anything concerning Nnamdi Kanu. He behaves as if the man exists. He does not know he belongs to the form. Tinubu, sorry. Yes. He is behaving as if the man exists, there is none of his business, and is just looking the other way, irrespective of the pleas by Ohanes Ndigbo and the IPOB and other meaning Nigerians. He has said nothing concerning, the release of that. So before we go, what do you think? If Bruce Fenn, the international lawyer, fails, what do you think happens to Nnamdi Kanu?
I think we return back to the status quo where we are today, and I do not see the Bruce Fenn protest going that far. That's me being objective, being rational. Even though I understand, the concerns, Nnamdi Kanu should be freed. There's no need detaining him. You understand? It's just politics. But I do not see that going that far. But I have this to say, you see, can you bring it to the case of Sunday Igboho? Even where his own was in another country, he has been released, but Nnamdi Kanu has not been released, and that speaks to something. It's beginning to insert ethnic question marks into the whole presumptions of struggle for self-determination. And again, I should think that yes, the agenda, the move there is to have the United Nations look into Nnamdi Kanu's matter. But there are also other concerns even at the International Criminal Court at The Hague. You understand? ICC, following the Rome Statute of 1998, they said in fact, some of Nigerian officials had been fingered. Former service chiefs, you understand, had been fingered. So where is that one too? So these are the things that will take processes, that will take time before they begin to fall into place. But for now, I think the United Nations working group had actually pronounced as unlawful the arbitrary detention of Nnamdi Kanu, and that says a lot about the position of the UN. But the thing there is that there is what you call sovereignty, which stays in Nigeria. Now, Nigeria is always citing its sovereignty to say we are a sovereign nation and we can. But then there is what you also call R2P, responsibility to protect. There are times when, if human rights bar had been lowered, you see America, you see even Russia, you see some of these groups, even those of them who carry themselves as mercenaries, begin to come in to do what? To keep the peace. You know that there is peacekeeping, there is peace enforcement. So they are two different things. So I think where we are today, we may be exercising our sovereignty, but the question should be, at what cost? Does it simply mean that we want to through a particular part of the country, away to allow insecurity to fester therein, while we actually proceed with the other part of the country. So I think it's not looking good on us for our diplomacy, our foreign policy, which I think should begin from the home scene, and it is what you call interdomestic politics. So it should begin from the home scene. I think the president needs to do more, especially to project himself as a person who is conciliatory. He is now beginning to talk to ECOWAS members. Those members they try to suspend. Those members they are actually sanctioned. Where you had coups d'etat, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. So if ECOWAS is now approaching, looking for conciliatory measures following their threat to leave the bloc, I think Nigeria should begin to, in the interest of peace, and following what actually happened in 1967 to 1970, begin to think of ways of making peace in the entire country. Thank you.
All right, just in few seconds, talk about Sunday Igboho, who was also out here. I think if you ask any average Nigerian, they will tell you Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho committed the same offense, and even the Omotekun he initiated is still operating. But on daily basis, you hear the military talking about ECN, how many ESN, sorry, how many of their camps they have
raided.
They have raided and
busted.
So now comparing the two, and with the president, what he told us when he was campaigning, that he's now going to make sure Nigeria becomes the one it has always been, indivisible, one entity. And now his brother, so to say, is out, and Nnamdi Kanu is still there. Does that tell one Nigeria?
I will tell you something before I even talk about the one Nigerian thing. Determination, self-determination is never an offense. So I wouldn't understand the word. You use the word the same offense Nnamdi Kanu committed. But there could be an offense if you look at the way it's been executed. Some persons may say we want to pass or we want to grab it from
Nigerians call it offense. The Nigerian government call it offense. So that's why we're using that word.
What Nigerian government only did was that beginning from the subnationals, the 5 governors of the Southeast, then first prescribed IPOP, leading to the federal government gazetting the group as an unlawful group or as a terrorist group. But that's by the way. But what I'm saying is that no well-meaning government will say that self-determination is an offense. But what they are saying is that the way they are going about it is what they are now trying to criminalize. And to an extent,
let us just look at the two because of our time. Now
let's look at the two. What Nnamdi Kanu is agitating is the same thing Igboho is agitating. Igboho is looking for a free nation for the Yoruba to exist separately from the rest of the country. And let me tell you this, it didn't begin today. In 1950, when we had constitutional conference, a constitutional conference, the status of Lagos was in question. Should Lagos be administered separately or be administered as an FCT then? Other people said yes, it should be administered separately as an FCT. Then the Western region said no, Lagos remains our own part of the country and must not be administered separately. Awolowo threatened secession. Awolowo threatened to secede. Then if you read the book by Ahmadu Bello, and I want to quote him, he said, Lugard and his amalgamation were far from popular amongst us in the north. We wanted to secede that time. He used the word secede. You understand? And that book was written before the Civil War. So I think secession itself has been a politics in the Nigerian system or in the landscape before Nnamdi Kanu. And this Nnamdi Kanu's case should not be seen differently, but should be an ample opportunity for Nigerian government to solve that little arithmetic it failed to solve in 1960s. It failed to solve in the 1970s. That has continued to fester and metastasize in 1980s, 1990s, and the 2000s. So this should be an opportunity for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to do the needful and address this issue. Thank you.
All right, before we leave, our wonderful listeners, I'm sure you're enjoying every part of this, and we're talking about your brother and my brother Nnamdi Kanu, and also what the international lawyer, this lawyer, and not just because he's a lawyer, but because he's also concerned, and he has also seen that Nnamdi Kanu did not commit any offense, just like both the Federal High Court in Umuahia here, even at the time awarded damages, you know, and then it was not paid, and yet he's still there, and then even before the Court of Appeal also released him, then the question becomes, why is he still there? Just like our analyst said, I think Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, should do the needful. Having said that, comrade, what is your final take before we leave, just in seconds?
Okay, thank you so much. It's going to be brief one. My final take is that there's no need and there's no point in keeping a man whom we've not actually been able to establish a case of all the allegations. You remember there had been amendments to the charges. You keep amending, you keep just the way you are doing with the former CBN ZA. You keep amending, you keep today is 6, tomorrow is 20. So we don't need that kind of politicization of the judiciary. What we need to do is he who must come to equity must come with clean hands. Nnamdi Kanu's matter should provide us ample opportunity to negotiate. Like I said before, I heard somewhere and I read from somewhere, I have not been actually confirmed, that he laid out terms for reconciliation. I think if that is the case, nothing stops the federal government from going into talks and seeing what can be done. Remember that the Article 33 of the UN Charter admonishes or encourages all nations to pursue dialogue, settled negotiation, and diplomacy in pursuit of issues like this. So I think it should not be beyond President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to do that part. Thank you.
All right. There is nothing wrong for our president to do the needful. And also remember, if we are preaching one country, we should also act it, not just saying it. And then there should be sure. I think for long, it is only in the southeast, in all the geopolitical zones, that is still left with 5 states, and that nothing is being said about that. Away from that, Nnamdi Kanu, from all indications, in fact, sometimes the United Nations also wrote to Nigeria concerning Nnamdi Kanu during Buhari's time, and nothing was done. And so that is to say that he's actually did nothing. But why I don't hold anything against Tinubu is just that he has said nothing concerning Nnamdi Kanu, but we want him to look that way and make a comment. He has said nothing and has allowed that man to remain there. And so we are saying we are still one Nigeria. Nigeria is our country. And then we must do everything to ensure that we remain one indivisible entity. And that's the only way we can do it. And just making sure that everybody feels this right and enjoys the same right, and not making others as what do I call it? As if there are some who are just like the animal farm, as if some are more equal than the others. So I'm not sure that is paying off well. We are all Nigerians, and Nigerians will remain. So we must do the best. Thank you for being part of this program today. And in the program with me today has been Comrade Nnamdi Lekwaji. Comrade Nnamdi Lekwaji, we are very pleased to have you here today.
Thank you. The pleasure is also mine here. Thank you, and goodbye, our listener.
All right, and this is your anchor man, Doroto Chineduma Diele. We are saying keep listening to your darling station 90.9 Living Radio, and we'll keep bringing you more interesting programs. Bye for now.